I just want to make sure that's appeared on my. Yeah, now it's live. And this won't disappear if we click on stuff. Alright, I think we are good to go. What do you think, Amber? We can see if anyone ends up showing up. Whack the mic, as it is custom. Oh yeah, I won't actually. Whoops. I've lost my stuff forever. Don't worry, no one's viewing us yet, so. There. I do want to see if this shows. Okay, it does show us, like, meandering around. Oh, you know what? I'm guessing it's gonna have to, like. People are gonna, like, join and be like, what is going on here? Everyone's. Because it's now live, that's, like, captured there. It's kind of silly. Alright. I have to remember not to touch things then. I'll keep that one kind of in the background there if I in case I wanted it. Oh, it's Mary. Hey there, Mary. Hi. Hi from Maine. Can you hear us all right? There's probably about a 15-second delay, so I'll ask her in the chat if she can hear us all right. Can you? I certainly hope so. It'd be fun if it was audio technical difficulties. Yeah, the mute button isn't on.
Oh, that's good.
I'm gonna spy in on the thing here real quick to see if I can hear it. Okay, they can hear us. Excellent. Yeah, we decided not to do the costumes today, the filters, because there's about a few milliseconds delay. So anytime I have to actually edit those, I have to synchronize the audio, so it would come across as us like not talking correctly.
Yeah, our voices would be completely out of sync with us.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Well, shall we get started since it is after 6?
It is after 6. We've got a whole captive audience here. All right. So let's get started then.
Shall we introduce ourselves?
We shall introduce ourselves. So, howdy, folks. I'm Brian.
I'm Amber.
And here's some unconventional Reddit, I think.
And Happy New Year's Eve.
Oh, yes. Amber always remembers the important things. I just kind of plow forward without any kind of plan.
Oops, my mom's calling. We'll call her later.
Hello. I don't know who that is. Ms. Zephyr. So, yeah. We'll get started. So our first letter is titled, Am I the jerk for kicking out my boyfriend because of his dog? I know the title is going to get a lot of people riled up, but hear me out on this. I'm a 31-year-old female, and I've been dating a dude, 29-year-old male, for 8 months. It has been great. He has a dog that is 8 that he has had since he was a puppy. I have nothing against dogs. I'm just not a fan of owning them simply because 1, I live in an apartment and I feel that they need a yard, and 2, I don't want all the cleanup that's involved with them. He takes the dog most places with him, which is fine. She is very well behaved and never caused any problems. In my place, I have an elderly cat as well as a guinea pig and some gerbils, 3 fish tanks, and a partridge in a pear tree. I usually go over to his place to hang out for the sake of his dog. The other day, he offered to come over to my place and hang out and help me install a new wall mount. I said it was fine, without asking if it was okay first or even bringing it up with me. He brought his dog with him. My apartment doesn't allow dogs, not even as guests, so I had a bit of anxiety about it. His dog was doing fine, when suddenly she started barking like crazy, which seemed out of character for her. Dude then says, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, you should put your animals away in a locked room." I asked why, and he laughed and said with a smile, "Dog's name is a murderer. She killed my ex's rabbits. She got into the cage and everything. They aren't safe unless they're locked in a room." Which is terrifying.
Yeah.
I was mad. He knew that I had small animals. This wasn't a surprise thrown at him. and he knows about this issue and brought his dog over without permission or warning. I told him that he needed to leave now and take his dog with him. He isn't invited over anymore. He got upset and called me a dog hater and said how dogs are and just said that this is how dogs are and I should be more accepting of her. I didn't respond, just continued to push him out the door. Am I the jerk here? Edited ad, my friends are chipping in, telling me that I have an anti-dog mentality and that I should be more open to doggos. It's really frustrating. I don't understand how some people can be so blind to dogs or love blind to dogs. And holy cow, this blew up. I'm on break, so at work right now, but a quick answer to many of the questions raised about when the time came for us to move in together. Moving in with a partner is not the end game goal for me with relationships. In all of my relationships, even serious long-term ones, I've preferred to live separately. So pets having to live together would never have been an issue. So, what do you folks think of that one?
I will, since there's a little bit of a delay, I'll start talking and we can
Yeah,
read the comments as they come in. But
yeah,
I think that what he did is highly irresponsible. Like, he knows his dog has murdered his ex-girlfriend's pets and just, like, brings the dog over, doesn't say anything, doesn't ask, just like, oh, and then laughs. Laughs on top of it. Like, I just can't fathom someone thinking, oh, haha, it's funny, my dog murdered my ex's pets.
yeah. That's really what I can't fathom here. So, and Mary's saying some things here. I had one dog that palled around with a pet rat, another that cozied up with our rabbits. This guy hasn't got a leg to stand on. How about an anti-animal cruelty mentality?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was something I was gonna bring up too. Is like I know a lot of people who own dogs as well as other pets. You know, they have
Mm-hmm.
cats or rabbits or something, and the pets get along just
Oh
fine.
yeah.
Like this is not normal dog behavior. You know, dogs are domesticated animals,
Exactly.
and so if it's not normal for them to have this really aggressive behavior.
Yeah.
And if his dog was showing really aggressive behavior toward other animals, that's the time to get a dog trainer.
Yeah.
Not
Exactly.
not just be like, oh well, you just have to suck it up and let your animals maybe get murdered.
Yeah, well, who thinks that's acceptable? Like if you know your dog, if you know your dog has done some terrible things, you leave them at home, right? You don't just bring them to someone's apartment where they have small animals. Like that just seems very irresponsible. And like to do this without even telling OP ahead of time, there was just like no warning here. It was just like, "Oh, hey, my dog's over." And OP wasn't even fine with it to begin with,
Right.
and they were less fine with it after their dog started barking. So, yeah, I just can't blame OP in the least here. So, let's move on to the next story.
All right. So our next story, we have kind of paired stories the next two, which is kind of nice. So this one's, am I the jerk for setting a glitter trap to catch my mother-in-law trying to snoop? For some weird reason, my mother-in-law really wants to go into our bedroom whenever she comes over. On one occasion, I followed her as she went upstairs. I was going to get something for my child, as the bedrooms are upstairs, and she walked past the bathroom on the main floor and up the stairs behind it. She didn't hear me, and I caught her walking straight into my room and rifling through bills on my dresser. She denied snooping, even though I just watched her do it, and said she was just going to use our bathroom because she couldn't find the other ones. She walked right past the one on the main floor and another in the upstairs hallway to go into our bedroom. Since that happened, I installed an exterior doorknob that requires a key on our bedroom door and one on the door to our office/spare bedroom. However, she's still always forgetting where the bathroom is and trying the bedroom and office door. This really ticks me off. My husband says that I just get annoyed at this because everything she does drives me up a wall. And since we put locks on the rooms we don't want her in, there isn't really a problem anymore. Well, over the holidays, we had my in-laws over for dinner. And before they came, I was searching for the bedroom keys. We hadn't used them in a while since we only lock the doors when mother-in-law comes over. My husband told me we don't need to lock the doors since she wouldn't try to get into the rooms.
No, of course not.
And I insisted that she would because she loves to snoop. We went back and forth and decided to cover the doorknobs in superfine glitter to see if she tried them. I did this once before when husband didn't believe me about the snooping to prove she'd been in the rooms. Last time she ignored the glitter and we didn't say anything about it, but then my husband couldn't deny that she'd tried to snoop. So this time I covered the knobs in glitter and for the office went a touch further and rigged a little folder of glitter over the door in the office before the in-laws came over. I left it on one side unlocked, French doors, and it was set so that if you walked in the room, you would get covered in glitter. Husband goes out of his way to show his mom the main floor bathroom when they got here and specifically asks his parents and sister not to go upstairs. There's a baby gate so the kids can't get upstairs either. Well, guess who has to go to the bathroom and got covered in glitter and had all over their hands and hair? She completely lost it and started screaming at me, so I yelled back, and now my husband is saying I went too far and I'm the jerk. Mother-in-law also says I'm the jerk, but sister-in-law says I didn't do anything wrong and mother-in-law deserved it for snooping. Father-in-law is Switzerland. Apparently her car is ruined now too.
Ruined.
Because it's covered in glitter, she can't get cleaned up.
I mean,
So am I the jerk?
I mean, she can't use the car anymore
No.
because there's glitter in it. It's ruined.
Clearly.
Clearly ruined. No way to fix that vehicle. Mary does say, tempted to walk into mother-in-law while she's using...
Walk mother-in-law to the bathroom.
Oh, walk mother-in-law to the bathroom as she is senile and wait for her outside. Yeah, she does need an escort. She literally needs an escort at this point in time.
Exactly. So I think OP's not the jerk here. I mean, if someone tells you part of their house is off limits and you specifically go where you've been told not to go, you kind of deserve to be glitter bombed.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is just ludicrous. Like they were told not to go upstairs at all, and somehow they managed to find themselves upstairs.
And glitter is like, yes, it's annoying, but
Yeah.
it's harmless. So it's not like, she set up like a chainsaw or something.
It wasn't like
It was like
it wasn't
booby
like a
trapped in a
horror
horror
booby
movie.
trap. Yeah.
It was just a little bit of glitter, just to prove, like, look, you went where you weren't supposed to go.
Yeah, and maybe this will be like a deterrent for her for the future to be a little more cautious with where she goes. And Mary says, there is no distance too far. So, yeah. Exactly. So, I don't know. I don't think that OP's the jerk in this situation. But we actually have a pairing story to this. And so we'll read this other one, and then maybe we'll talk more in depth about the stories, both of the stories as a whole. So this letter, which of course goes with the last one, is titled, "Am I a jerk for asking my son and daughter-in-law for a copy of the key to the new house they just bought?" Now you can see why we paired this one. Mary says, "I wouldn't scream though, I would just laugh." Exactly. 2 weeks ago, my son Ethan and his wife, Jess, 30, bought a small one-story townhouse that we live in. Oh, in the town that we live in. After settling down, they invited us over for a small party for the occasion. We sat for dinner and talked about the house a bit. Me, my husband, and Jess continued conversing after Ethan excused himself to take an important call. Jess showed me the original key to the house, and I asked if she made copies yet, and she said no. I said that she should also give me a copy as well. She looked at me funny and asked why I should. I explained that it's necessary so that it could be used in emergencies. She rudely says, "I don't know what kind of emergency that would require you to have a key to our house. Sure won't be a fire incident." We don't know what this means. We've pondered about it, and we'll ponder some more. She obviously didn't seem to have any idea that a fire incident wasn't what I meant, and I got offended by her sarcasm. I pointed out that it's not just her decision because this is my son's house as well. She smiled at me, trying to be polite, and stated that the only ones who contribute towards the household will get a key, and that I really don't need one anyways. Also assured me that my son will have the same answer from me. basically saying, don't bother bringing this up with Ethan, he'll tell you the same thing. But I did. And she spoke on his behalf the entire argument, repeating what she said over and over. Things escalated to her calling me pushy and telling me that she was being unnecessary. Oh, and me telling her that she was being unnecessarily rude and disrespectful. My husband and I left in a rush, and I felt horrible. My husband went on and on about how I'm paranoid and controlling, and I was basically being demanding with asking for a copy of a key to the house, but I again stated that I was just trying to be helpful and taking extra precautions since anything could happen. But he insisted that I overstepped and ruined Ethan and Jess's joy for their new house as well as dinner. I genuinely do not think what I said was out of line, and I'm not sure why Jess reacted so intensely. I think my request was just innocent. So now you can see why we kind of paired this with the last one.
Yes. So I just can't fathom what reason OP, like, you notice that OP never anywhere explains what reason she needs for having a copy of a key.
Yeah.
If it's that important, like, if it was an anxiety thing, I would imagine she would probably list off, oh, I'm so worried that their cats, they go out of town a lot and, like, they'd have no one to feed their cats or something.
Yeah.
So this sounds a lot like the mother-in-law in the last story. Like, I want unrestricted access to their house.
That's exactly what it sounds like. It's like I want to be able to access your house anytime I want to, and just make sure to let me have the key so that you don't have to worry about it. And Mary says, this is why all married couples should live hundreds of miles from parents. What a jerk. I agree. To some degree. Sometimes there are some good parents out there, you know? But sometimes there are some who take it a little far.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to turn this mic down just a smidge. I noticed that we were peeking it out.
That's fine. So, yeah, I mean, I just, like, first of all, it's kind of rude to ask for a key to someone's house in the first place. If they offer you one, then, like, sure. Yeah. But if OP really wanted to ask, like, if she had some legitimate concern, like, oh, who's going to feed your pets when you're on holiday? Yeah. Maybe you could give me a key for that. When Jess said no, that should have been end of story.
Well, and it's also really odd to ask for a key for someone's house. I really feel like usually someone will offer it.
Exactly.
Like, if you're going out of town, you're like, oh, hey, do you mind looking after my house while I'm gone? And they'll usually give you a key, and you can water their plants and feed their animals or whatever have you.
I 100% agree with that. And so I was just saying, like, if she really had to ask, like, the end of the story had to be just, like, not pushing it. But the way she's pushing it, it just feels really like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Mary's like, move back once the novelty wears off. Well, yeah, if they're moving into the hometown, this might be a little bit more than what they were expecting to get. And I mean, this really feels like it ties well with the last story. And, you know, when you have ulterior motives and you're snooping and your children might not approve of that, you know? So let's move on.
Our next story is, am I the jerk for kicking out my brother's girlfriend for how she behaved? Mike is a 36-year-old male, and he's been dating Tara, a 32-year-old female, for about a year. At this point, she should be a huge part of every holiday gathering. But I have heard complaints from Mike about how everyone in the family treats Tara like a stranger and doesn't want her in their homes. When I talked to people about it, they told me they aren't going to talk about it. It is a choice they have made. I can make my own choices about Tara and Mike, but they don't want her in their home at all. My sister Claire, a 28-year-old female, sounded exhausted when I asked her. I'm a 26-year-old female, and I just moved back home in November and have not met Tara in person. I am renting a townhouse with my husband Greg, a 30-year-old male. Mike and Tara were out of town visiting her family most of November and December. Mike has my address. I have gotten 3 ring videos of Tara knocking on my door at weird times during the day. When I don't answer, she waited there for a few times for up to 10 minutes. She texted me the last time about how I wasn't home, and I just said we aren't home during the day, and if we are, then she needs to text us instead of just coming by. Greg said she seems a little intrusive, but he has sisters like that, so we just tried to look past it. On the 23rd, Mike and Tara texted me to say they were in the area. Could they stop by? I said sure, we're having grilled cheese and tomato soup for lunch, and did they want a plate? Mike said absolutely. When Tara sees what we are having, she goes, "Oh, I don't want that. I'll just make myself something else." I tell Mike we don't have anything else she can have right now. Everything else is for another meal. Mike tells her to just eat what we have, and she plops down like a toddler. She then says she needs to use the bathroom. We show her the guest bathroom. She says there is no bathtub in there. Mike asks me if she can use our main bathroom to take a shower. I tell him no. He gets upset. At this point, Greg and I are starting to get why Tara isn't welcome in people's homes. I'm about to make an excuse for them to leave when Tara comes out with my box of mud masks, which had been sitting on my bed. It was unopened. She tells me she loves this brand and she wants to use one right now. I tell her no. Greg takes the box out of her hand and says it might be time for them to leave as we have somewhere we need to be. Mike and Tara leave. Later, I get a text from Mike asking what I thought of Tara. I told him politely I would love to see more of him if he wants to come by, but I don't think Tara and I would get on. He called me a jerk and told me to grow up. Am I the jerk?
This is a little bit of a sad situation. Speaking of unwelcome guests, the thing is that no one seems, I mean, maybe people sat her down and explained why this is unacceptable behavior, but if she's going around and doing these kinds of things, first off, who takes a bath at someone else's house?
Yeah, like
during the daytime, uninvited over.
Right, like
a spontaneous bath.
Yeah, it's not like she's like staying over the night or something. They're just here for a few hours.
And Mary says, "Shall we warn them about Tara?" What? And missed all the fun? Yeah, exactly. Why didn't they warn them about this? Like, I guess like everyone's kind of sick and tired of Tara and how she acts, and they don't want to deal with this anymore. But I really wonder if anyone sat her down and been like, "Look, you can't go over to people's houses and just use their baths."
Right, well, it sounds like Mike is just too defensive. Like, he's unwilling to see any flaw in her behavior. Like, he's acting like this is totally cool. Like, wait, why aren't you letting her have a shower in your house in the middle of the day when we're here for a few hours? And so, like, I think Mike really needs to have a serious chat with Tara about her behavior.
Yeah, I mean, how has she made it this far and this long in this relationship without him being like, "Hey, Tara, honey, you just can't go into people's houses, steal their mud masks, and take baths."
Exactly.
I just don't get it. Like, I really do not. And Mary says, "I would be curious how Tara treats guests in her home."
Yeah,
that's a really good question. Like, I hadn't thought about that. Like, does she expect this kind of stuff out of people?
Right. Well, some families are like really open about sharing, like forced sharing. So like she may have grown up in a house with like siblings or something where they just kind of like took each other's stuff and it was normal.
Yeah.
And maybe she didn't have a lot of friends, so she only was used to that. But it seems really strange that she just think, "Oh yeah, let me go and take your mud masks and then go take a shower in your house in the middle of the day."
Yeah, I just don't know how the leap in logic occurred there, So yeah, let's move along to our next story though. Our next story is titled, "Am I a jerk for making my boyfriend eat meat at my family gathering even though he's a vegetarian?" Yes, it is
I'm gonna
literally
say yes right now.
Literally as bad as it sounds. "My boyfriend is 24 and I'm 28, and we've been together for 2 years. Yesterday we were visiting my family because we won't be able to be with them for Christmas. So we wanted to drop off some presents. It was the first time that my boyfriend met my entire family, so it was kind of important. Here's the thing, I forgot to tell them that my boyfriend is vegetarian, so my mom made a turkey and there wasn't really anything else to eat besides snacks. When I realized this, I quietly asked my boyfriend for him not to cause a scene and just eat the food and compliment my mom on it. He tried to argue back, saying that he doesn't want to lie to my mom, but I told him it would come across as rude if he didn't at least try it. And I didn't want him to have a bad impression. So he decided just to eat an entire plate and told my mom it was delicious, which obviously made her happy. We had a good evening and everyone seemed to like him. But when we drove back, he brought it up and said that he thinks it was really messed up for me to expect him to eat meat when I know how much it disgusts him. I get his point and I apologize to him, but I still don't think that it's that bad to eat a bit of turkey once. To not make it weird as a first impression on my family. So am I the jerk? Edit, a few people are asking why there was nothing else that he could have eaten, and I said that there were, of course, some other snacks and a couple of different sauces, but nothing that would have been considered a decent meal without the turkey. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say that OP is a huge jerk here.
Yeah, exactly. And Mary's saying, how do you forget something like that? And
Right.
this is like you were saying. What were you about to say?
Oh, I was gonna say like, oh, I'm a vegetarian. So, and when Brian and I started dating, he pretty much immediately, like, when we were gonna go out with his family, he told them that I was a vegetarian, and like they all were super accommodating
Yeah,
and brought dishes.
exactly.
And so there's part of me that wonders if they've been dating for 2 years and she knows he's a vegetarian,
Yeah.
how she just forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, how do you date someone for 2 years and never bring this up once to your family? And I mean, like, I honestly wonder, like, if this was like forgot and then basically, setting it up so that next time that they visit, they're like,
Yeah, like
oh,
setting a precedent.
yeah, setting a
And then Opie
precedent.
would be like, oh, well, you ate meat the last time. Maybe you could eat meat this time as
Yeah,
well. So you don't look bad to my family.
yeah. How many times is it gonna be before they're like, oh, yeah, just keep setting this precedent. You don't want to make it awkward and weird now.
Like, and so he is way more accommodating than I would have been. Like, again, Brian was super awesome, but like if he hadn't told his family and then I tried to be like, oh, just eat the meat, I've been like, no,
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 exactly.
thank you,
Yeah.
not happening. And I would have taken being weird and awkward and making things awkward. Well, first of all, OP is the one who made things awkward by not telling her family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's on her.
Yeah.
And the appropriate thing, if she legitimately forgot, would have been to tell her family in the moment, oh, hey, I forgot to mention my boyfriend is a vegetarian.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
all right if I cook him a grilled cheese sandwich or something like
Exactly.
that?
Yeah, and the onus needed to be on her at that point in time to rectify the situation and not to just be like, oh, hey, you should do this thing that you're not really into, anyways, you know? And Mary says, get his point. This isn't a debating society. A total jerk. Yeah, exactly. Hi, Jot. Jot apparently joined in. I'm not sure when. I have to see who's even participating. So I'm just checking participants. We have a couple people here. A couple people here. So I think that was just absolutely unacceptable for OP to do. Like, I just don't know. We do have a companion story to
We
this
do.
one. So let's read the companion story and then we'll talk more.
Am I the jerk for tricking my boyfriend into eating vegan? I'm a 21-year-old female and I'm a vegan and I have been for several years. I started dating John, a 22-year-old male, about 3.5 months ago. We've gotten along wonderfully except for this past issue. When we went out to dinner for the first time, I told him I was vegan when ordering my dish, and he just kind of went, oh, cool, and started talking about something else. It never really came up again ever as a point of discussion, though when he's come over and I've made lunch or dinner, it's always been dishes. I've never tried to actively hide this from him. When he asked what we were having, I'd say things like burgers, and I assumed he knew naturally it would be something like Impossible Burgers. For Christmas, neither of us could afford to travel home, and neither are very close to our families, so we had Christmas at my apartment and I cooked dinner, vegan lasagna. After dinner, we were watching some cooking show and a contestant was making something with fake meat. John commented on how he hated when dishes pretended to be meat when it was plant-based, and it was deceptive and gross, and he would never eat that.
Never.
I was naturally very confused and pointed out that he's eaten that several times. When he questioned me, I explained that our dinner had been entirely vegan with fake meat, and every time he's eaten at my place, it's been a vegan dish. He got really mad. I'm trying to keep this post concise, but he accused me of tricking him into eating something he found disgusting and forcing my diet on him. I said he was ridiculous for being mad at this, and he said it would be the same as if he tricked me into eating meat.
The same.
I said it wasn't the same because I was morally opposed to eating meat, but nobody was morally opposed to eating plants. We argued some more and he left and went home. He hasn't been over since. Yesterday I texted him trying to smooth things over and hoping he's cooled down. He wrote a few paragraphs about how betrayed he felt. He said that he hoped I understood how disappointed he was if he felt that I would tamper with his food like that, and that something like this was a serious betrayal of his trust. He said I should have disclosed that none of the food I ever made contained meat. He finished by saying he would come over for New Year's only if I apologized for lying to him. I got frustrated and said I didn't lie, that this wasn't something I should apologize for, and he was being childish. He hasn't replied. So edit, thank you for the responses. I didn't expect to get so many comments, and it would be overwhelming to respond to them individually, so I'm just going to make an edit here. No, he's never helped me cook dinner. He usually waits in the living room and sets up a music playlist and sets the table and stuff. I don't mind that much since my apartment is small and the kitchen might get kind of cramped. I find cooking really relaxing too, and tend to zone out. He doesn't ask about it other than what are we having, and it's not discussed much while we eat. If he had asked where I bought the ingredients or how I prepared them, it's not like I would lie and say it was real meat. And I think that the second paragraph isn't as important.
Yeah. So Jot says that now he wants an Impossible Burger. And Mary says OP isn't forcing anything. He's just butthurt to be proved wrong.
Yeah.
That's what this sounds like more than anything, you know? And this kind of, we thought this tied really well in with the last one. OP in this case isn't like challenging his morals.
Right. She didn't he didn't tell her out, like, if he has a moral objection to fake meat, it would be on him to disclose this. You can't assume that someone is opposed to eating plants, because lots of people eat lots of plants.
Yeah.
Everyone eats plants.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to,
and
right?
so if he had told her outright, I'm disgusted by fake meat, I don't want to eat it.
Yeah,
then
like on their first date.
Right, then that would have been one thing, and OP would be a jerk if she tricked him.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be on the same order of magnitude, but it's still not cool to make people eat things that they don't want to eat.
If they had sat down at their first date and she had been like, oh, I'm a vegan, and then he was like, I can't see how you're a vegan. I think that fake meat stuff is totally gross. I would never touch it. Can't even imagine it. And then she spent like the next time plotting how she was going to get him to eat it and enjoy it. That would be a different thing, you know?
But you can't just assume, when you're making dinner, if someone's like he knew she was a vegan and she was eating the food with him, so why would he assume the burgers were meat if he knows she's vegan? It just seems, really strange.
Yeah, exactly. And Mary says impossible dinner guess, which I guess, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I just honestly, I just cannot see what is totally why their OP would be at all in the wrong here. I just don't see how they could possibly,
Yeah, exactly.
So, and Fred Gomez says, what did I miss? And you've missed a few stories already. We've been going for a little while. Welcome, though. Welcome.
Yes. Yeah, so I think I agree with you that OP is not the jerk here. If he had an objection to fake meat, he should have disclosed it, because if you don't tell people that you don't eat something, then they can't read your mind and know you're going to be offended by it.
Exactly.
So.
And then we got a couple more comments rolling in. Maybe he assumed that the burgers were meat. That's all I can guess for his reaction. So yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. He had to have known that she was a vegan. Because
Maybe he was paying so little attention to her during the first date that he just kind of forgot, chucked the information out of his brain.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna answer this comment real quick, and then we're gonna move on. Don't worry, Fred. We're still going for a little while yet, so you haven't missed too much.
You're gonna upload it later on anyway.
Yeah, this is gonna be uploaded later, so if you missed stuff, don't worry. Happy New Year.
You'll still get in on the fun.
You'll still get in on some of the fun here. So our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for the punishment that I gave to my daughter? So my husband is a 43-year-old male, and I'm a 40-year-old female. We have 3 kids. Abia, who's a 13-year-old female, Paul, who's a 10-year-old male, and Zoe's an 8-year-old female. My husband grew up very privileged and has done very well for himself and takes very good care of me and the kids. We have never wanted for anything and have been able to afford to have help where we need it. I'm very appreciative of everything that my husband has done for us and have always made sure to let my kids know that we are very lucky and very spoiled. I've tried to always instill in them that we should always take care of the people where we can and always pay people properly for the services that they provide us. I've always had my kids pack up their clothes or things that they've outgrown and we donate them to those that need them more. I thought I was doing a good thing in teaching them to have empathy and understanding of just how lucky they are. Well, I guess I failed as a mom. I came home early a few days ago and walked into the house to hear my eldest screaming at our nanny. She was screaming that, quote, "You're a maid, that's what you pay you for, to clean up after our family. Do your job." Wow. I have never heard my children speak like this to anybody, and I saw red. I was calm in front of my daughter and I sent her to her room. I took away her electronics and told her that I will speak to her when her dad comes home. Our nanny was in tears, so I sat with her and got her side of the story and helped her calm down. All she did was ask our daughter to put her dirty clothes in her hamper so she could start laundry. This woman has helped me through postpartum with all of my kids. She has literally been a rock for me and our family for 13 years. I love her and see her as part of the family, and I'm still upset over how she was treated. I gave her a couple of paid days off to decompress and let her go home. My husband and I decided that as far as punishment goes for our daughter, we will keep her electronics. She will spend her weekends volunteering at the youth center for underprivileged kids. She must write a full letter apologizing to our nanny, and she must take care of her own chores. My husband and I sat down with her and explained all of this to her. I also told her that she doesn't pay for anybody for anything. She has no money of her own aside from what she has saved from birthdays and allowances, and having people in our home to help her is a privilege, not a right. Until she can understand this, I expect her to take full care of herself and not accept any help from the people her father pays to give us an easier life. Meaning that she will do her own laundry, keep her own room clean, and take full care of her puppy. None of this is up for debate, and her father and I will talk in 4 weeks to see if she understands our point then. Of course she went running to my mother-in-law. The whole of my husband's family say that we are completely out of order and ruining our daughter. Yes, ruining.
Teaching a child empathy is ruining them.
Exactly. This is totally ruined territory. Have I really gone too far? Edit. I didn't add this to the original post because of word count. I grew up needing the services that youth centers provide. I lived in foster care when times were okay and lived wherever I could when times were really bad. I worked my butt off to give myself something of a decent life and worked until I became a mother. My husband grew up incredibly wealthy. Both of his parents came from money. My mother-in-law never worked a day in her life. Father-in-law sadly passed away in an accident when Bia was barely 6 weeks old, but has always had an incredible work ethic and based the family values on my husband. My husband has based the family values on this. My mother-in-law has never liked kids. She basically wasn't involved in her children's lives, and they grew up with the family staff. My husband is nothing like the rest of his family. He is sweet, loving, and understanding. They are all extremely spoiled brats. Husband spent a lot of time at his favorite nanny's house when he was growing up and always had really valued what she gave him in the sea of crazy that is his family. We are generally low contact with them, but mother-in-law has taken more of an interest in Bia since she turned 13. Husband and I agree it's something that we will be keeping an eye on, and he will try to have a conversation with his mom about it. As far as Bia is concerned, she is still not speaking to me. We are planning a few therapy sessions for Bia and us. I've also talked to our nanny if she would be open to a family session in the new year. I'm hoping we can figure this out as a family. The punishments are still in place and will remain so until Bia shows some understanding of why she is wrong and how hurtful she is to Abba. The reason why the kids have been calling her Abba is that she sings or hums Abba songs while she's concentrating, or Abba. So there's a few comments here from Fred Gomez. Don't tell your kid that they're spoiled. Just quit spoiling them. Mary says maybe the daughter should take over the nanny slash maid chores for a week. Yeah. And heck yeah, that's not a punishment. That's a consequence for his actions. Well deserved, exactly. And perfect. Ruining. How does she know how to speak to the help if she doesn't learn? And definitely not the jerk from Aunt.
Yeah, so I think we're all pretty much on the same page here that
Yeah.
OP is not the jerk for having consequences for the daughter's actions.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the way she behaved was completely unacceptable, and I think it's one of those situations where the consequence perfectly fits her action. You know, she was belittling this person who has been taking care of her since she was a child.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically dehumanizing her.
Yeah,
like, you're
yeah.
just here to look after me.
Yeah, you're here to serve me.
And so, you know, I think that making her, you know, pick up after herself for a week, look after her puppy and do all the chores, and also volunteer with, you know, underprivileged folks so that she can get a sense of that not everyone has it as easy. I think those are really fitting consequences for her actions.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's essential that she has that now. I mean, she's 13 still.
Yeah.
She's young enough to have a change of heart.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. Is I think that the mom probably maybe did a little bit of a disservice with not having them do their own chores for at least some of the time in the past. And like she probably just didn't realize how much of an impact that might have on the kid. And so I think that like this is a good opportunity for her to learn and potentially kind of like see the other people as human and not, you know, not servants for her to serve her, you know? And Fred says also the volunteering will help learn compassion and how well she's off compared to other people. Exactly, you know? And, you know, this kind of reminds me of one letter that we did a while back where I don't remember exactly the details behind it, where the daughter did something terrible to someone who was homeless. I think that like she might have like pretended to give them money, or I don't remember exactly.
She said something really rude to them.
She said something,
did something rude.
Yeah, really rude. And the mom was like, "Well, you need to sleep in a tent overnight." And she was wondering if that was a little too harsh of a punishment for the daughter. But then the daughter basically turned around completely and was like very understanding towards people who have to spend every single night out there. So yeah, I just cannot stress that I hope that this is like going to do a lot better for her, that she'll learn the compassion here.
Yeah.
And Mary says, I wonder how long this has been going on. And that's a really good question.
Yeah, like, has the daughter been doing this a lot? Because, like, of course she's not going to do it in front of her mom. If she knows her mom is disapproving, but...
And it makes me wonder why the nanny didn't come by.
Well, she may not feel comfortable speaking up about it. You know, she's in a position... The daughter has a position of power over the nanny. That she's part of the employer's family.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of people who are not as considerate as OP is, who... if their nanny were to be like, oh, your daughter said this thing to me, they might be very dismissive. So
yeah, so I really am glad how OP handled this situation. I think they did a really good job of it, and I honestly think that they couldn't have handled it better. So let's move along to the next story.
And this one is a kind of a companion story in that this is an exactly inappropriate consequence.
Yeah, I forgot about the companion story on this one.
So, am I the jerk for grounding my daughter by not bonding with me on gardening? I'm a 47-year-old female and I live with my husband and my youngest daughter, who's a 15-year-old female. My oldest daughter, a 20-year-old female, no longer lives with us and I feel a bit lonely since she used to be my partner.
I think that's the crux of the issues here, folks.
We did everything together. We liked the same things and we were best friends. I love my youngest daughter equally. I don't have a favorite child, but it has always been difficult with me to bond with her because we're too different. My youngest daughter clearly prefers my husband, given that, just like my oldest daughter, they are best friends. They do everything together, they like the same things, and they often bond over games, music, and anime. I've tried to bond more deeply with my daughter, but I don't understand her tastes, and when we're alone, we hardly ever have anything to talk about. My husband doesn't see it as a problem, and he often says each parent with its own daughter, but it doesn't seem right to me. I recently decided to build a garden and asked my daughter to help me, as I often bond with her sister on gardening. She said no right away, but I forced her anyway. I thought it would be a beautiful afternoon, laughing and chatting, but it wasn't. She complained all the time that the dirt was gross, that the sun was going to burn her, and every time I turned around, I saw her using her phone.
Horrors of horrors.
At one point, I got bored with her attitude and said, "If you dislike this so much, go and leave your mother alone." She went back into the house. I thought she would come out in a few minutes, she would apologize, and we would start over like in the movies.
Just like in the movies.
But an hour passed and nothing. I walked into the house and saw her in her room playing on her computer. I got mad and grounded her without games for a week. She wasn't even sorry she left me alone, and she called it a wasted afternoon, which hurt me. My husband defended her by saying that if I really knew her, I would know she doesn't like outdoor activities and that I should have tried to bond by doing something she likes instead of forcing something that I like on her. He also accused me of trying to turn her into a version of her sister and of trying to take his daughter away from him. Now they're both against me and giving me the silent treatment. So am I the jerk?
Oh my goodness. Like, OP's disconnected from reality here, it seems like. They're like, oh, I thought this was just going to be just like the movies, and that, everything was just going to be like a lifetime story, and everything was going to be, she would come back out and somehow see that she was in the wrong.
Right, Opie just acts like if I just force my daughter to garden enough, she's going to turn into a miniature version of her sister. It's like, in what world? I mean, yes, okay, that happens in like some movies. The parents force their kids to do something they think they're gonna hate, and then it turns around. But most of the times in reality, that's if someone knows they don't like outdoor stuff, it's gonna go spectacularly bad when you force them to do something they don't want to do.
Yeah, and Fred's replying to something in the last one here. Do you mean the daughter that had hit her phone in the maid's bag? I think that was a different story. And then, oh wait, do you mean the ones where the mom gave the daughter two options? Either give me your phone for a week, or you can sleep outside camping in camping gear, and the daughter ended up at the volunteering at the super kitchen. Yeah, that's the one. That is the one. Your memory is better than mine, apparently. And Jot says this mom watches way too many Hallmark movies.
Yes, you miss Mary's.
Oh, and Mary's. OP should force herself to bond over music and anime, just like in the movies, like Mommy Dearest.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, if OP really is missing the companionship of her older daughter, the appropriate thing to do would be to try to bond over the things that her younger daughter likes.
But then what's the fun? You can't mold your daughter into your own image.
You can't. But like, and maybe if OP gave anime and games and music a try, she would find she likes some of them, and maybe she would find she doesn't, and they still would have no ground. But like, you can't just force your kid to become a clone of their sister.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. It's like you just can't force people to take interest in stuff that they're not interested in. And, OP didn't even try to extend an olive branch at all. They just basically said, come out and work in the garden. You have no choice. And
then they were surprised when this didn't magically turn out like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah. And Mary says, I bonded with my now adult kids over the MCU. Guess who made the effort there? Yeah, and exactly. Like, you have to find something in common. Like, sometimes you might not think that you're interested in something, and you give it a shot, and it turns out that, you think it's great, It gives people a chance to talk about stuff. And I think that in this case, it's really important for, the mother to make an effort to step outside of her comfort zone and try to bond with the daughter if she's this alone. Not just try to force her to become her other sister.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move to the next one. Is this my read or your read?
I just read the last one.
And this is just a conversation between them. Am I a jerk for not packing my husband's bag so he could spend Christmas with his family without me? So, I'm a 30-year-old female, and I've been with my husband Ted, a 34-year-old male, for 4 years, and we got married 2 years ago. His family and I haven't gotten really along very well. They're rich and all about image. I only see them on occasion, but that's when the drama is at its highest rate. Last Christmas, Ted and I traveled to spend Christmas with them, and it was awkward for some reason. After we went back to the hotel, his mom sent me a list of all the things that I had done wrong at her house, like bringing up the wrong types of desserts and wearing inappropriate clothes. I wore a blouse and a leather jacket, and not standing up when the guests arrived.
Who stands up for their? I
I,
I'm apparently too low class, because none of this seems like a glaring error to me.
yeah, exactly. I am not high class enough.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we are not high class,
No,
but
no, we are not. This year, mother-in-law only sent an invitation to Ted to spend Christmas with the family. He told me that his mom didn't invite me because of my last year's negative points. She apparently was keeping
it's a
score.
point system.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's healthy.
And would rather just have him there this year. I was flabbergasted and asked if I was actually considering going to after his mom excluded me, and he shrugged and said yes because he never spent a Christmas away from his family his entire life and isn't about to break the cycle now. He suggested that I go out, invite Regina, my best friend, over, or just put on my own celebration, and said, but nothing too crazy. Capiche? What? I was upset, but hey, if they don't want me, then I shouldn't force it and try not to feel hurt and offended. Well, yesterday, Ted came home asking if his bags were ready since it was time for him to go. I said, I don't know, and he was stunned. He freaked out, saying that I knew he was going to travel to his hometown and I should have packed his bags like I always do. I admit that packing his bags is what I do, but only when we're traveling together, and I figured since he was traveling on his own, that he should pack it himself. He lost it, saying that I just caused him to be late and ruined all of the flight/hotel and other reservation arrangements. He had just because I was being bitter because I wasn't invited to the Christmas celebration with his family. We had a heated argument, and he said, look, if you're really going to overreact right now, because it's not like I'm going to go away on a vacation to another country to spend some time with some strippers, or adult workers rather, and whatnot, I'm pretty certain you wouldn't be half as mad and agitated as you are now. I'm just going to go spend time with my family, and quite frankly, I don't know what to do with you anymore. Then proceeded to call me petty and said that I got him into trouble and punished him by not packing his bags for knowing that he was going to go travel. He packed his bags in a rush and ended up forgetting most of his gifts that he got for his family. He's now not speaking to me. Am I the jerk? Edit to add, I found out it's not just my mother-in-law, but father-in-law and Ted's brothers figured it would be best that I don't attend their Christmas party, and instead to my own family, claiming that they were giving me the option to decide, and also claimed that they don't want to force me to be with them since we have some tension behind us. Ted said this is all temporary until his family and I get used and adapt to each other.
So yeah, I'm gonna say OP is 100% not the jerk here, and her husband is being, first of all, like, as her husband's responsibility to talk to his family and say, like, because when you get married, you and your partner are supposed to be unified. You're supposed to be together, and it's not like bringing the wrong dessert or not standing up when there are guests are, like,
Unforgivable things.
offenses,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, and if she wasn't raised in like this ritzy upper class society, it's on them to tell her what kind of desserts they want her to bring and what the etiquette is.
Or, it was up to him to kind of like fill her in on all the gaps that she's missing out on.
And so for him to be like, well, okay, you just don't come now because you got too many negative points. Like, he should have stayed with her in the first place.
You got too many demerits. You're not invited to Christmas anymore.
That's not how that should be working. And so, like, I just don't understand why he insisted on going and leaving her home. And then he gets mad because she didn't. I mean, first of all, he's an adult, presumably an able-bodied adult with two functional hands. Like,
I think that's where you're wrong here, Amber. He's clearly not an adult.
Well, legally he's probably an adult if he's getting married. So, like, I just...
Yeah. There are a few comments here. Fred says, what a POS and a jerk. And then there looks like there's a spam comment. And then there's Fred's like, I don't want to break the tradition.
Yeah.
And then Mary says, isn't about to break the cycle now? If not now, when OP should just pack it all. Adapt to each other as in my way or the highway.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
And one more from Fred. Hey Ted, since you already have your things packed up, don't worry about coming back. I packed up the rest of your things and sent them to you. Have fun with your family.
Yeah, well, like if this guy just like lets his parents like kick Opie out because she's not fancy enough for them, like it's not a good partner.
I'm gonna put on airs here.
Yeah. Yes.
And Jot says, if my boyfriend did this to me, he'd be staying with his family, to be honest.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just completely disrespectful. And I mean, like, I really honestly don't see how he gets off, not bringing her along, not stepping up for her and being like, listen, like, he didn't have to tell her that she wasn't invited, right? He just needed to, say, listen, this is how she is, and you folks need to deal with it, right?
Right, like that's the appropriate thing when you're married is to tell your family if they're having a fit that like we are a couple. You will like if you want to host me, you have to host my partner as well.
Or even just say, listen, I'm not coming until you folks work yourselves out,
Yeah,
like stop being so judgmental towards her for asking about desserts.
Exactly. Like it seems like they have these weird etiquette rules and they never told her and she didn't live up to their weird etiquette rules and now they're punishing her and they're probably just mad because he didn't marry a fancy rich lady.
Yeah.
But that's on them to just get over their upset over that.
Yeah.
And so I think
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say I just think that he is completely in the wrong for just like letting his parents push her out of the holiday. And then for expecting her to pack his bags on top of everything, like she owes it to him to pack his bags, and like she's sabotaging him because not that she would be wrong to sabotage him at this point in time, but not packing his bags is hardly sabotage.
Yeah, well, I mean, isn't that just like what you would expect to do? I mean, if I were going on a trip, I wouldn't expect you to pack my bags. I would pack my own bags. And Fred says, completely disrespectful, unwanted and unneeded toxicity from him and his family. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't agree more here. It's pretty toxic from them. Do we want to do one more, or do you think
my voice is going?
Amber's voice is going, and my voice is probably going to go here soon too. So I think that's probably about all the time we have for today. So thank you all for watching today. Thank you for joining us on this live stream. I thought it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed reading people's comments as we went through this. We'll have to try doing this again someday. I think that this was actually a lot of fun. So let me know if you folks would be up for that again. I certainly am. So thanks for joining us.
And how are you spending your New Year?
Yeah, let us know. Let us know real quick. How are you spending your New Year's?
We are drinking tea. We are having a wild time toasting 2022 with our
with tea,
peppermint tea mugs.
Yeah, we're drinking peppermint tea,
and maybe playing like word villas or something later on.
Yeah, there's word villas, and it's a pretty fun game. I don't know if anyone's played it before. It has a really cheesy storyline.
Yes, but a lot of fun.
Fred says, reminds me of the story of the guy that wants his wife to pack his things while he goes to get drinks with his friends. Oh yeah. And then she didn't, and he's super mad that he missed his plane. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mary says, love the dynamic between you two. Thank you, Mary, so much. And Jot says, I'll drop an update of the art I've been working on during this Discord soon. Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing that, Jot. It's I always love seeing your art there. Fred says, Happy New Year's. Yeah, Happy New Year's, Fred.
Happy New Year's.
I wish there wasn't such a delay, because I know it's taking at least 15
seconds or so for our stuff to actually reach you all.
So I always feel bad about that, because we're kind of moving on and people are still typing and stuff like that. Hopefully we can figure out how to decrease the latency here, make it actually a little bit smoother of a stream. I might try in the future decreasing the quality or something. Mary says, I'm here in Vegas. I'll spend New Year's Eve staying home. I can't blame you there.
Yes. Well, we're staying in too.
Yeah,
So
we are staying in. This is about as this is the level of excitement that you'll see from us this year.
and yeah. So I guess we'll see you all in 2022.
Yeah, we'll see you all in 2022, and I'll see you all on Monday, I guess.
Yes.
So Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye.
Bye. I'll give it just a second, and we'll close.
Freeze.